and WNBA legends and all-stars, brought to you by Electra Supernatural Hydration. You may have seen her on Shark Tank coming for that ass. You may have seen her at the Women's Final Four hydrating hustle, but all the ballers and best coaches drink Electra, and you can get yours right now at idrinkelectra.com. Jump Ball with Fran Harris and WNBA legends and all-stars, brought to you by Electra Supernatural Hydration. You may have seen her on Shark Tank coming for that ass. You may have seen her at the Women's Final Four hydrating hustle, but all the ballers and best coaches drink Electra, and you can get yours right now at idrinkelectra.com. I'm assuming you see me. All right, Edna Campbell.
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Glad you spoke up. Here we go. You were like looking. I was like, oh man, she can't hear me, but she can see me. I can see you, but I can't hear you. All good. All good. Where are you in the world? We are live, by the way, just so you know, before you say anything. We're live already. All right.
Good. Thank you for that stuff. But I'm in Arizona right now.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started in the spirit of the game. Always starts on time for the most part, unless there's some major emergency. I've got you see the screen with the bracket on the board.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So welcome everybody to the 2023 WNBA Playoffs Jump Ball edition. This is Fran Harris, former WNBA champion with the Houston Comets, also played for the Utah Stars. And as I mentioned in the ads and in some of the posts, you are going to be seeing and visiting with some former WNBA legends, stars, all-stars, folks who played overseas. These are the people who have been in the trenches with the WNBA, with the ABL, and even other leagues over the course of women's basketball's great history and great history. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be fun, should be high octane, should be really interesting. We're going to do 3 shows, actually 4 shows. We're going to do a pregame show. So the game starts tonight. Obviously, this is the tip-off of the game. The game starts tonight, and then we're going to do a halftime show of the first game between the Suns and the Lynx, and then we're going to do a halftime show between the Aces and the Chicago Sky. And then I'm going to do a wrap-up of the night in the morning. So you'll get like a morning edition wrap-up of everything that happened tonight. So we lost one of our guests. Let's make sure we got everybody in the building. Bring these people back to the stage. I got Rushia Brown. I got Edna Campbell. So all of these people are going to be coming giving you their opinion because, you know, we consider ourselves certainly in the group of experts because we've been where these women have been in many cases in far worse places playing overseas. The world of women's basketball has changed so much since a lot of us played. But we're going to be bringing you all that, giving you our thoughts and opinions on who got what this year, who made which team, who didn't make the team, what the surprises were, what the shame of some of these selections that we saw. But as y'all can see, I'm sporting my Houston Comets cap. Even went back, Rushia, are you in?
I'm here.
Even went back, Rushia, and got my hair from 1997.
Oh, Lord.
This is the hairstyle I had in 1997.
I got a rocker shirt. Should I put my rocker shirt on?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm repping the Aces, though.
There we go.
I'll put my Rockers gear on later.
Yeah, for sure. So welcome to the show, Rushia Brown. And those of you who are definitely been around the league for a while know that Rushia Brown played in the inaugural season, as I did. I played for Houston. Rushia played for the Cleveland Rockers. So welcome to the show, Rushia Brown.
What's up, Fran?
What's happening? I'm good. You're excited about the playoffs?
I am. I'm anxious. This very much anticipating it. It's been so much great competition.
Yep.
And the way they raise their level of play. And you know, right now it's really about who stays healthy. So I'm anxious to see like how this turns out for the majority of the teams here. You know, you can pick and choose your favorites. But
Absolutely.
It just boils down to who plays the hardest and who stays healthy.
Who stays healthy, who's playing right at the right time. As I mentioned, y'all, Edna Campbell dropped out, but she is back. Edna Campbell played for several WNBA franchises. She started off with the Monarchs, the Purple, the Mighty
with
Purple.
The Phoenix Mercury. Started off with the Phoenix Mercury.
Dang,
I sure did.
You got around, girl.
I did. Then I went to
Mercury.
Seattle. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I went to Seattle. And I was in Sacramento.
Okay.
Up in San Antonio.
That's right. 4 squads. Listen, I'm glad you were here because I was going to take you back and forth all over the country in whatever order I wanted you to go in, right? But that's great. 4 squads, 4 different franchises in the WNBA. Ladies, you know, before we jump into the bracket and all that good stuff, I want to start with you, Rushia, and just share with everybody what life was like in 1997 for you. What did it feel like to hear that there was going to be a WNBA and then actually play in it that first season?
You know, I tell this story all the time that when the NBA announced that they were going to have a WNBA, all I could think about was being able to come home and play in front of my family. Yeah. So I've been playing overseas for 3 years, no anticipation of being able to play at home. And when I heard that, I had to call my agent and be like, look, you got to get me on one of these teams. And I'll share, you know, I didn't go to a big school, so I wasn't drafted. I wasn't invited to free agency camp. And luckily for me, that first year, they allowed players to try out. And so I actually got cut in Charlotte. Then I went to Cleveland and made the team as a practice player and then got elevated, you know, to a roster spot and eventually a starter. So I was just so excited to have the chance to play in front of my family. And so when I watch this league to see where it is right now, I just think back to then, and I'm just so excited that we got a chance to be a part of those founding franchises.
Yeah, so you newbies out there, before I go to Edna, you newbies out there who really want to know what the landscape of women's basketball was in the early 80s and then the 90s when we played in the WNBA. Like, there were so few jobs for women overseas. You want to talk about competition. Like, the best of the best of the best got jobs. And then everybody else just kind of waited for those people to get hurt, just low key, just be honest with it, somebody to get fired or whatever. That was the only way you got to play overseas because there were so few jobs. And a lot like Rushia, I hadn't played in like 7 or 8 years when the WNBA was actually announced. And when I called the WNBA, and I don't even know if you guys know this story, and you may know, when I called the WNBA and I was like, hey, I hear there's going to be a WNBA. And they were like, hey, Fran Harris, like, yeah, we know you played on the national championship team with Texas, but wasn't that like 8 years ago? And I was like, yeah, but I'm only like 30, 31. So what's like, and they were like, oh, so are you interested in coaching? So the WNBA didn't even think I was interested in playing. They thought, surely you're not, nobody falls off the radar for 8 years and then thinks they're going to come back and make a WNBA squad, do they? But to your point, I went to an open tryout. And Kim Perrott and I got the last 2 spots. There were 250 women in that gym that weekend for Mother's Day in 1997. And Kim Perrott and I got those last 2 spots. So it was extremely competitive to get into the W in that inaugural season. And it was crazy seeing all the excitement and all the mania around women's basketball that, frankly, we had not seen. I'd seen that at Texas because we were one of the best programs. We averaged 10,000 people or whatever. But what I love about your story, Rushia, is that you said, you didn't go to a big school. You didn't go to a Texas. You didn't go to a Stanford. You didn't go to a Louisiana Tech. And so you had to get your way in the league, however you got in the league. So shout out to you, sis. I didn't even realize that was your journey to get to that point, and just really and getting cut and then saying, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep pedaling. So good for you.
No, sure. And I think the 3 years that I was able to play overseas prepared me for that. Because coming straight out of college, I might not have been ready. But having played 3 years internationally, I remember playing against Cynthia Cooper. And then, like there were other players that were overseas that I got a chance to compete against. Because like you said, numbers, we were few, but mighty. And just the competition, I played on some of the top teams. So I remember thinking, wow, I didn't know basketball had this level.
Yes.
And it just really was about the preparation. And so when I was able to step into the Cleveland Rockers organization, I was better prepared.
Yeah. It was crazy overseas. We're playing on the week. We play one game, y'all, like one game a week, 1 or 2 games a week. So one weekend I might see Teresa Edwards. Next weekend I'm seeing Cynthia Cooper. The next weekend I'm seeing Valerie Steele. And it was like, whoa! It was unbelievable, but also such a great sisterhood overseas because we were really all we had. Now, Edna, what I love about you being on the pregame show is that you got to the WNBA. And we can talk about that, but you actually started in the ABL. So I always show some love to the ABL as a precursor to the WNBA. What was it like in that 96 tryout situation? Because I was in Atlanta as well, and then making it to the ABL.
So, what happened with the ABL is that they had made a selection of, I guess it was like maybe 10 of their premier players.
Yep.
So I was sent an invitation. I was in Hungary, and I was slated to be one of those premier players. So I was really excited. I mean, like Rushia said, I'm just going to echo. I mean, it was exciting to know that you were going to finally able to share your professional basketball experience, up close and in person with your family and friends. Because all they knew is we took off and we went overseas and we were playing basketball, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to share that experience with your friends, your family, up and to all support, it was tremendous. I mean, I was stoked at that time.
Yeah. And remember, there was an A group, a B group, and a C group for the ABL tryouts. Just so those of y'all who are just hearing this story for the first time, and so the A group, didn't come in for the first. The B group didn't come in. The C group worked it out, and then there was an open tryout. So it was very, very structured, very organized. But I can tell you from being in Atlanta with those 300 plus women and getting down to the finals, because I was in there in the finals and was an alternate for the Seattle Reign. It was talent was crazy. Talent in the ABL pool was bananas in that gym in Atlanta.
Really was.
You're talking about the best of the best of the best. So when you started that league and then you played in 2.5 years, what was it like when, even though you knew there was a WNBA, because there was some crossover between the two leagues, even though you knew there was a WNBA, even though you were confident you were going to get a spot, probably, I'm assuming, I'm saying that you are, but I don't know, maybe I shouldn't speak for you. What was it like, though, for one of those ending before you even got to the WNBA?
So to start ABL, we were all in ABL, and I don't think we even thought about one day playing with the WNBA. It just happened that ABL, and then we were drafted to WNBA teams. So it was one of those things. For players that play ABA, it was something that we poured our hearts and souls into because it was very much a grassroots project. I mean, we were hands-on with the fans. We were out in the communities. And so I believe that there was a lot of heartfelt and a lot of energy that was put into that league from the players personally.
Yeah.
And so to make that move, it was challenging. It was difficult because, we were all attached to our teams, our teammates, that project. And so, yes, for people on the outside, the WNBA was bigger, better, But for us, the ABL was where it was at. And honestly and truly, as you mentioned, Fran, the talent pool, there was no comparison. There was no comparison in the talent pool, right? But then we all ended up in the WNBA, which made the league stronger, more competitive. And so, the rest is history.
Yeah. So you got to the W. There were some, I've talked to players, interviewed players before, and Rushia, I want you to jump in on this as well. You guys were our sisters. So for us, it was like, oh, our sisters, we get to play with our sisters. But from my understanding, there were players who didn't want to play in the WNBA. And from my understanding, there were players in the WNBA who didn't necessarily want ABL players kind of infiltrating the system. So both of you, what were your thoughts when that melding happened?
So let me just say this, it's very challenging when you have, higher ups or corporate entities pulling on the players, right? So the players felt torn, right? If my best friend is going to play and, in the WNBA, then maybe I want to play in the WNBA, right? So, there were just, for whatever reasons, players chose their league. And, it's part of basketball history, but, the ABL is, it gave the WNBA a tremendous springboard. It leveraged up the WNBA. And so, I think that you couldn't have had one without the other. You know what I mean? Really. Yeah. For the WNBA to be as strong as it is.
Rushia, what were your thoughts when the leagues got together?
For me, because I felt like I got in by the skin of my teeth, because I wasn't a top draft pick. I wasn't highly touted. I came in on, a tryout. I just knew I had to raise my level of play because even better talent was entering the league. So I didn't have an issue with it. I just knew I had to step my game up because I didn't want to lose my spot. Yeah. And so my only focus was on me and never about anybody else. And I just really think it was about saying, okay, so what can you work on this off season? Because you better be ready because other women are coming in and you better bring it. Plus you're going to have some, and every year that training camp experience was crazy. Yeah. Like it was just so much talent. And I just wanted to make sure I was prepared. So that's what all I
Yeah, it was exciting. For me, it was an exciting time for women's basketball. Actually, when the ABL came in '99, I had gone into broadcasting. So I had the best job. I could just sit on the sidelines and talk about y'all and talk about how great y'all were in that. But I remember because I had friends who played, people I played with at Texas who were in the ABL. I remember being very excited that they were going to have a different level of a platform. Because say what you will about which league had the best talent, I think that was kind of obvious to all of us. But when it came to money, when it came to platform, those players deserved to be on a different level as well. So I was more excited that the world was going to get to see everybody in one league finally. So that was a real exciting time for women's basketball. And for the fans who are watching as we start to transition into what's happening right now, that was 27 years ago. I don't know about y'all. I mean, I ain't old. I ain't old at all. When I hear 27, when y'all hear 27 years ago or 30 years ago, when we talk about our basketball experiences, what do you think? What does that feel like?
It's crazy to me because I still feel young. I don't age. Because I know when I used to be 20 and I would think of somebody that's 50 plus, that's somebody's grandma. I ain't nobody's grandma. So it's just, the level of energy that I have, I'm still excited about the game. I love the game. I do as much as I can to contribute to the young ladies that are coming up behind us. Yeah. But it's just amazing that much time has passed because I know you remember the conversation and the dialogue at the time that the league wouldn't last. And here we are now, over 27 years later.
Yep, still in there. What about you, Edna?
And I think what's even more amazing is to see how the game has evolved. I'm going to talk about the skill level, the talent, the exposure, the media platforms, both social media, television coverage, just all of those things, to see how the game has grown and how women's basketball has.
Yeah, Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about what it is today. I see a lot of, and I'm going to ask this, I want to ask a question that's going to be polarizing because I really do believe, some people just have no idea how good our game has always been. It's different now, but it's always been great. All right, so I see a lot of discourse online with people like, oh, the talent back then was nothing like it is now. These are new people. These are not people. And then there will be some old heads who will come in the thread and be like, come on, youngsters, like, y'all have no idea what the talent was like. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the level of talent, the differences between the game in 97, 98, 99, and the game in 2023?
For me, I think the level of talent was amazing when we played then, especially for me. I was in awe every night at just the talent level of the women. But again, I think the people that are making those comments are like the same people that are saying LeBron or MJ or don't recognize Earl the Pearl. If you didn't witness it, it's hard to imagine the amazing things that were done on the court.
Great point.
Teaspoon, how she's picking your pocket every night, how Coop is getting to the hoop. And Cheryl is doing whatever it is that she wants. And Tina, so for the people who haven't witnessed it, I think it might be hard for them to imagine. But don't get me wrong, the level of talent that these young ladies are playing with now, I love it. But once again, there's greater viewership, I believe. So now there are more eyes on it. There's social media. You get the highlight reels. You get all this different stuff that really highlights the game. And I think that impacts people's mindset as to what the game is like. And they don't have that footage from when we played.
Right. And you know what's also interesting, as you were talking, I was thinking about the women who played the very next decade after I finished, and Cappie Pondexter and Tweety Nolan. Like, if you don't play with that level of talent, you also see it a different way. Like, so we were in practice with Coop and Lynette Woodard, and right. So we see these people every day. But if you've never played at that level, it's really easy to go, whoa, we've never seen anything like this.
Absolutely.
Or, you know what I mean? Or if you haven't watched the game through the years, when people don't talk about Tweety Nolan and Cappie Pondexter, when they talk about the best guards in this league, I'm like, I just excuse myself from the conversation because I'm like, they don't know. Like they don't know. They don't know. Yeah.
Jump shot that I've ever seen is the elevation, her release, like she was amazing.
Yeah.
But so many people missed the opportunity to see her. And like you said, if you're not on the court with it, you know, because I was a defender and just get out there and be like, well, damn. I mean, like, you know, like it's just a totally different speed. So it makes a difference having witnessed it, and even more so if you compete against it.
100%. All right. So we're on the 2023. Let's start with the obvious, and that is the awards selection. There was it got more contentious as the date got closer to when they were going to announce who got MVP and all that other good stuff. But were there any surprises for you with the awards for 2023? Any surprises?
No. Did you already go over them?
I didn't. No.
Okay, let's talk about who got what first. Because I know for me, Asia was my MVP.
Okay.
And I might be biased, but she has done so much. And I think she's actually may have lost a vote because of the amount of talent that's on her team.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, so there's so many people around her. But then when I look at Stewie, she's done a really good job also. But she still has Sabrina. She has Jonquel. And I think maybe because Jonquel got off to a slower start in the beginning of the season, there was more spotlight on Stewie. But I don't see how anybody could pick anybody over Asia Wilson.
Interesting.
But that's just me.
So most valuable player went to Breanna Stewart. Everybody knows that, know that, and I know you've been traveling. You may not know that. What's your reaction when I say Breanna Stewart was voted MVP, Edna?
So I was surprised. I believe that her performance.
Edna dropped. Okay, so you would have gone for Asia, and I was all straight Asia, and then Breanna Stewart's team, because it's interesting you say that, her team started doing better. And so more eyes were on Breanna Stewart. She started balling out. And then it was like, whoa. And so I had to take a step back and go, okay, all right, that's a good time to do that. That's when you want to be doing that. But if we look at the entire body, the entire season, which is what it's supposed to be, then that goes to A'ja Wilson in my mind, right?
Let's say so.
Yeah. And so, and I completely understand why people became mesmerized, completely captivated by Breanna Stewart. She played great as the season kept going. A'ja was great the whole season. And so people just kind of, forgot about it. There is also that kind of place where people get when they're like, oh, okay, it's A'ja. We expect her to do.
That's what she does.
Exactly.
Doing A'ja things. People are used to her level of excellence.
Yep.
So that's what's expected. So when she has a normal game where she only scores 20 points, people are like, whoa, what's wrong?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And then the interesting thing, and I'll get you back in here in a second. The interesting thing was the insertion of Alyssa Thomas, because the people who go hard for Alyssa Thomas for AT go hard for AT. And they were like, I don't understand why she's not in the conversation for MVP. So Edna, I'll step aside and let you get back to what you were saying about Stewie.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. This is no knock against her ability or her performance, but there is. I mean, I believe that A'ja has outperformed. I mean, and I think MVP typically would go to T, right? So, and I get was a vote. There was a good vote. I think they might want to challenge this because there's just no way that's possible. I mean, just in my personal opinion, I've watched A'ja game after game. I've watched Stewie, and again, there's no knock against her game, but I don't think she outperformed A'ja.
Yeah. All right. So I brought up Alyssa Thomas and how she got in the conversation about from the Connecticut Sun, how she got in the conversation for most valuable player. Either of you want to jump in there on AT?
I just think that she's a newcomer. I think she's new to the scene. I don't think that she has harnessed the hype, the media support, the league support, and all of those things matter, right? She's a new kid on the block, and so you're not going to displace the people that the league has already invested in. I mean, Connecticut would have to, just come out the gates, win a championship, a perennial championships for her to be considered right now, because you're talking about displacing institutional media darlings, right? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
It's not going to happen.
Rushia?
Great point. And I do think also with the market, Connecticut being as small as it is, we spoke earlier about how important New York was for Breanna. Like,
yes,
Brick City, it's crazy the way that everything is there. But Alyssa Thomas, the way that she has played this game, I think she's definitely most valuable for her team and the impact that she has. But it's tough. Like Edna said, what do you do up against A'ja Wilson, up against Breanna Stewart? And so she, in another time and space, and maybe had they already won a championship, she would definitely get more support. But she was up against two juggernauts, and I feel sorry that she's had the year that she's had.
Yeah.
But she got another award we'll talk about.
Yeah. So what I'll say about AT is, to your point, Edna, about kind of like the institutional, the psychological history of MVP has typically gone to people who are offensively killing it, right? That's our mindset. Like, it is, how many did you score for your team? Were you dropping 40? Literally, I cannot think, and I did some research, I cannot think of an MVP in recent history that wasn't also her team's most offensive player, like in the top two in the offensive play. I can't even think of one. Can you guys think of anybody either in any league?
No.
So she has that going against her as well. So her fans, her beloved fans, have every right to be like, she should be in the conversation, because for her team, as we all said, she was valuable. But that award has almost always gone to somebody who got buckets. It's like Will Chamberlain or Bill Russell, who said this game is and will always be about buckets. Like, that's a fact. So you got to live with that for sure. All right, so go ahead, Edna.
I'm sorry. I was just bucket championship. I mean, I don't think she's going to get MVP.
Did you say until she wins the championship? Because you went out.
Yes, I did.
Okay, cool. That's it. That's also a good point. That's also a good point because that's a measure in the mind of people watching that you're valuable to your team. So, Defensive Player of the Year. Any doubt that Alyssa Thomas, Connecticut Sun, was going to get this award? Who else could have gotten this award, y'all?
No, I do think that's her consolation prize. If being the Defensive Player of the Year is a consolation prize, but nobody has.
Oh, that's good.
Came the way she has on the defensive end. She changes everything about the way your offense has to attack.
Yeah.
Because she's in those spots, she's in help side. She knows how to. I mean, she's just everywhere she's supposed to be, and she makes her teammates better because she helps so much. She's a modern day Mary Andrade. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember.
With Mary.
Yeah, I remember.
I played. I just knew I could risk it. I could go for steals. I could do whatever because Mary's gonna rotate and get my back, and she does that for her team. She anticipates so well. She's tough on the ball, even if she's playing somebody bigger than her. She knows how to use her, and she is strong as all get out. So she is definitely deserving of that award.
Edna?
Oh, I think it's either her or again. I'm going to come back to Asia. I mean, I'm talking about block shots, all those things, right? But I mean, I think that she is definitely deserving of that award.
Yeah, if there was a hard hat award, Alyssa Thomas definitely is
absolutely
award.
Oh yeah.
My thing as a coach, though, I mean, I got my coach side's got to jump in here. Like, how many times are we gonna let AT dribble from one end of the court to the other? I mean, seriously, how many times?
Can't stop her. She's aggressive. She is a locomotive when she gets that ball.
Nobody
She's
wants
gone.
to get in front of that.
Nobody wants to do
I'm
it.
saying.
Like literally, it's like driving. You pick your highway. You just start in Dallas, driving straight up 35 to Austin, and it's just like clear. I'm like, somebody stop AT! Like she's literally going coast to coast with no traffic
Right.
whatsoever. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations to her on that. Let's get into some of the other nitty-gritty. Rookie of the Year. Boston, Aaliyah Boston, Indiana Fever.
I thought that was an easy pick.
Yeah.
She's done an amazing job, and even leading her team this year, as young as she was, and knowing how to play the game the right way, setting her teammates up, making the right shot, the right pass, getting the rebound. She's done all the things, and she just carried over from South Carolina. So I know Dawn is proud.
Yeah. And anybody?
No. I mean, I think she's very poised, and I believe that she is most deserving of that.
All right. We all agree on that. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. She did exactly what we expected her to do. Was to come in, dominate, pro ready. That's what people are saying about the players who come out of South Carolina. They're pro ready. Asia Wilson has said that a number of times. But let's talk about this most improved player. Because that deck could get a little crowded. I mean, there are 3 or 4 players who really got better this year. The winner was Satu Sabalo. Any thoughts?
I do believe she did a great job, and she's positively impacted her team. The fact that they were able to come in, and now they're in the playoffs at the number 4 spot.
Yeah,
I think the impact that she had on her team really shines through for her. She did a great job, especially having some injuries last year, and how she's able to come back in and be efficient for her team. So I liked it, but I'm with you too. I think there were a couple others. Evans from Chicago. I thought
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, he was good.
I thought she was in for the run.
Edna, any thoughts on most improved?
Nope, because she's gone.
How convenient. I also thought Tierra McCowan.
She did do really well this year.
Wings. I thought she came back and did some really good things for them. We got to talk about most improved teams along the way. We can talk about that, but I really thought Satu, Tierra, Evans, Collier. I thought there were some really, really good players who got better, who were already good, and then they just got better. So if we turn our attention to teams, did you think we would be talking about Minnesota at this time of the year?
thought they were just out to pasture. But it's amazing job that Cheryl has been able to do with that team.
100%.
Instilling some confidence in them and letting them play the game. They've got, loads of talent, but they play well together.
Yeah.
So it's not about just one player highlighting and doing everything. They do very well in playing their roles.
Yeah. We're talking about the most improved team now, Edna.
Okay.
We're talking about Minnesota and what Cheryl Reed was able to do with the team that started out. If you count the exhibition game, 7 losses in a row to start the season. And everybody's like, okay, it's rebuild, it's renovation for Minnesota. We're not going to be talking. And then they were like, right after the heavy hitters, the first one to clinch playoff, playoff thing. Any teams that you like this season that you thought got better?
No, I'm a Collier fan. I mean, I like the way she's been playing. She's tough. I mean, and it's really. I don't know. I mean, I cheer for her because I see how hard she has worked. I see how she team, and you got to applaud. You got to cheer for players like her. I really. So yeah.
Okay, so let's give the flowers to Satu Sabali, who averaged 18.6 points, 8.1 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and almost 2 steals a game. She was balling. She was a tough guard too. She was tough for people to guard. 6th player of the year, Alicia Clark from the Aces. For me, that was a surprise.
Really? Who'd you think would get?
I thought maybe Evans.
Okay.
I thought maybe Evans could get that. I thought somebody from, I can't think of her name. I get a blank right now on. But then she started. I was going to say Benijah, but then she became a starter. So that's who I was going to say most improved, 6th player, whatever, because she had an amazing season. Who you guys think?
No, I think Alicia is solid. You know why? Because when she comes in the game, she comes in the game. I'm going to tell you something. They don't lose anything. They actually gain. They are stronger when she comes in the game. She's that spark. She's a solid defender. I mean, she's big. She can shoot. Again, they don't lose anything when she's in the game. And I think she's like, she comes in and propels them to another level. For real, for real.
I am. I'm on board with Edna because she comes off the bench and she's locking down whoever the best offensive player is. And she's smart. And, she has a great 3-point shooting percentage. She takes the right shots. And she knows how to keep her teammates involved. So she does all the right things. And if you put her on another team, she's probably starting. But she knew she was going to come in to play a role, and she really elevates this team when she gets a chance to step on the court.
Yeah.
I mean, and I want to point out her defensive abilities. I mean, I've seen her guards, small forwards. I mean, she's an asset for real. Like I was impressed with the way that she has come to that team, what has contributed.
Well, that's impressive because I think one of the things that people who don't want Las Vegas to win to defend their championship this year are saying, they have some weaknesses, and their weaknesses that they have a terrible bench. Their bench is not strong. They have no bench strength. So this award is almost like a bam to those people's faces. Because I personally wasn't expecting that. And then I was like, well, if they got the 6-person award too, like who can beat these people? Yeah, who can beat them?
They definitely gonna need some more help from
that's what I was about that's what I was about to say, Rushia. Once you get past
drop off after that. But
that part.
Kristen Bell was playing really well earlier in the season, so hopefully she can get herself back in sync.
Yeah.
Because Sid has stepped up and is doing some things defensively when she comes in. But Alicia, she's a truth.
Well, let's talk about, since we're gonna transition out of this, but since we're talking about the bench strength, we know that what's her name? What's the woman's name?
Raquana Williams.
Raquana Williams. Yes, we would talk about this, and we were talking about guys. We have to talk about this if it's the part of our game as well. So, what are your thoughts on her not being back with the Aces or coming back to the Aces in the playoff? Do you think that that's a decision that should even be on the table right now?
It's an unfortunate situation, and I hate when our players get stuck in certain situations like this. I don't know what happened.
Right.
and because they threw it out, then you don't know. But it's unfortunate, and I think it brings added negative publicity to the team if she comes. But then if she's not guilty, then how do you punish her for something that was just, I'm torn about that. But I think the team is doing well. I don't know if she was even healthy anyway to be able to.
Yeah.
So I think you go with what you have because it doesn't cause any, disruption in what you've been doing, but you just stay solid and use the people that you have.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I'm going to echo what Rushia said. I don't know what happened, but if there has been no finding that she has actually done something, organizations do a great job of distancing things like that and creating the image of their personnel and staff that they want the public to have of their players, right? So I do believe that if that's the case, then this is a media this is a media effort to revamp her image and positively spin everything about her and her contribution and her involvement with the team. And the thing is whatever people talk about publicly, that's what sticks. That's what sticks. The ACES organization has the resources to brand her in a light that's positive and talk about all of her positive attributes. And guess what? All of that falls by the wayside. Nobody's talking about it anymore. And I believe that they could do that. She could become a community ambassador, and she's doing all these wonderful things in the community. And all of a sudden, do y'all remember once upon a time? I mean, it falls so far, to the back of your mind that you talk about it, right? So, I mean, I don't know. But if this were a guy, we've had some things happen with some very high-profile men, and they continue to play through their public hearings and this and that and the other, but their organization stood by them and their organizations branded them and put them out there in the public in a positive light. I just feel like we said, oh, bye-bye. Let's let it go, right?
Well, yeah. And my thing is this, two things. Number one, it's not uncommon. We all know this. It's not uncommon. Everybody watching this, it's not uncommon for someone who's been involved in a domestic dispute to recant. Let's all be real about that. To recant,
right.
Not show up for court, say that it never happened. We know that is a part of the cycle. So we would be disingenuous if we didn't acknowledge that. However, I don't want us to be overly punished just because I think some people feel like because we're women that if we do that, then we should know better. I mean, we should somehow be under a different set of rules because we're women. And so I'm going to think like a GM, and I'm going to think like, because you guys know that I am working on becoming a GM of a team. And so I got to think, I see things differently. So now I'm like, I don't think this person should be out of the league forever. No, I don't think she should have but if I'm protecting what I have right now, to your point, Rushia, and I would be, then I'm not messing this up. That's me. That's me as the president of whatever I'm going to be president of and the GM. That's the conversation we're going to have. Do we want to jack what we have up now? Maybe it wouldn't, but do I want to mess with this? Do I care enough to go, let me just throw this back in the mix and see what happens? No. For me, no, I wouldn't do that. But I also don't think players should necessarily be out of the league.
I agree how Edna said there needs to be some rebranding and making sure that there's some positivity around her name before she's, allowed back in, because you just got to make sure that everybody's protected.
Yeah, for sure.
Organization.
For sure. And culture and values are extremely important. And every decision we make as players, every decision we make as executives in sports organizations or any company have a lot to do with what we attract in the future. So people who think, that's how they doing it there, it's good and bad. Like it's like us within the Vegas organization, the things that they're doing is having a great impact on the rest of the teams. But also people with, who got shenanigan behavior, like, that's how they get down in Vegas. That's how they get down, in Chicago, that we get away with that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that we have to be on top of to make sure we're not putting out the wrong messages where that's concerned. That was great discourse, y'all. Coach of the year, Stephanie White. I have to say, I'll go last. Stephanie White, what are your thoughts, Coach of the year?
You know, honestly, I thought it was going to be Sandy. Just managing those personalities as she came in, they put together a brand new squad, and they did a lot coming in. Stephanie's done an amazing job. I'm so excited. You know, I'm always excited when one of our sisters, you know, wins an award and does something great. And I know she's been able to keep them together, even despite the big girl going down early on in the season. She's been able to plug and play and make sure everybody's elevated their level of play to make sure they were successful. So, but I thought Sandy was going to, you know, that's who I thought was in the fourth inning.
All right. Edna, you got something to say? I can tell who you're thinking.
I am all about Sandy. You want to know something? If you pay attention to how that New York team has played and improved over the course of this year, if there is one team that is going to roadblock the Aces, it's going to be New York. And I attribute that all to Sandy. I mean, you just watch how they play. I mean, let's go back a month to how they play them now. I mean, she's a great coach, and the way she utilizes her players, the way she makes adjustments, she's my choice.
All right. So I'm surprised by that, by the way, y'all. Here is a wrench in the conversation. People were talking a month ago about oh my God, Coach for Dallas. Latricia.
She was in my running.
Talking about her being a front runner for the Coach of the Year. Was that ever in your brain?
Absolutely.
And if so, why? Yeah.
She was, because just the impact that she's been able to have on this team. You see the amount of camaraderie with this team that she's been able to build. And I watch them on social media, how they're always laughing and joking, but she gets them to perform on the court. And, you know, there's some players on that team that you thought last year they weren't going to be able to buy into a team system. Yeah. And she's been able to get them to buy in, and they are all in. And I'm just watching them play. It's great to watch. It's fun to watch.
Okay. Edna?
I really can't comment on her, but I have noticed the change in the camaraderie and the chemistry of that team and the way they play.
Yeah. Camaraderie is one thing, and it's definitely changed, but finishing where you're supposed to finish is really what it comes down to. And fortunately for Dallas, they stuck in that number 4 position, because for a while it looked like it was going to just kind of crumble. It looked like here goes Dallas. You know, here goes Dallas. When it mattered, they're not. Here they go again. That was the sentiment for their detractors. But having been around them, and I call some of their games, and just, you know, you watch, and we can see things on teams because we've been on teams that people will be like, "How did you know that? And do you know them?" You be like, "No, you've just been in enough situations to tell what's happening." And so we know what a difference that coach has made in Dallas, because
they've done a great job.
We see stuff that was happening last year before last on Dallas's team, and I was like, Dallas, come on, y'all. Like, come on, Enrique, come on, like all of that. And in a year, they turned that around. In 1 year, with the move to a new coach, it got tremendously better. So here's wishing everybody really good luck. We're going to wrap up with kind of our predictions just for tonight, Rushia. So you've got the Aces facing Chicago, and you've got the Lynx facing the Liberty. What are your predictions?
You know, the Aces in Chicago, I give the Aces a pretty easy win. The Lynx, and I'm scared for them.
None.
Huh?
You scared for them?
I want them to play well, but just looking at the way that the Liberty, Connecticut has been playing, how intense. I'm thinking that defensive player of the year impacts everything. What do they do when she comes at them? And so I'm not sure that they'll be able to make that adjustment. You know, and Dewana Bonner, of course, you know, they're going to have that. But I think the biggest piece is going to be the defense against Minnesota. Who's she actually going to – is she going to play Nafisa? Is she, like, is that who Elisa's gonna play? Elisa
Thomas. Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see this one. I got Connecticut. I think Minnesota's going to compete, though. I don't think it's going to be, like a blowout.
Okay. And then for the Aces versus Chicago?
Yeah, I got the Aces 20 points.
20?
I give them the 20.
Interesting. So I think here's the thing. What I want to do if you come back, I'll do this in the other segments. Like I'd love to do how do you stop teams? Like I literally like how do you stop teams? My thing is what I said earlier. I would try my best and stay focused with taking AT out of one aspect of her game.
You can't let her do everything.
You can't let her do everything. She's just boom, and boom, and boom, and boom. Like, I mean, it's fun to watch as a fan, but as a coach, the coach in me is like, somebody needs to make an adjustment. Yeah. So you got to take her out of one aspect. Okay, are we not going to let her dribble all the way down, coast to coast? Or are we going to take her off the boards? Or what are we going to do? Instead of like just letting her do everything. As you can tell, I've thought a lot about that because it's like it's so obvious. Like we got it. Everybody
their offense started off the boards. Like you get 3 dribbles and yank it, throw it down the court, but nobody's there. So there's no way that you can continue to let that happen.
Yeah. So and why do you think the Aces are going to beat the Sky that bad?
No, just because I feel like in the matchups prior, I've seen them playing against it, they've just done better. And I think the Aces have hit after that little spot where they were like this. I've seen them in the last couple of games. They're back at their peak. So I see the production from Kelsey Plum and, Chelsea Gray. And like the other day, all of them had 30 points. Like, what are we doing here? So,
everybody got a 30 piece.
I know.
Literally.
For Chicago to figure out who to stop. And though they have the talent, I think it's just too much talent for them.
Yeah. All right, wrapping up, final thoughts on, as we move forward, your big prediction for the final champion. When we get to October, who's won it all?
I see New York and LA. I mean, in Vegas. In the finals. And it's just who's healthy.
You think it's going to come down to health? Okay.
I think it's going to come down to health. Sandy's done a great job, like we mentioned, coaching up that team. Becky, without question, has done an amazing job with the Aces.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. All right. This was awesome. Thank you so much for joining. This was great conversation. Good stuff. I hope our fans really enjoyed it. You guys come back same place at halftime of game 1 and halftime of game 2. We're going to be talking to completely different experts from the WNBA, different opinions, different thoughts and predictions about what's going to happen. But Rushia, thank you so much. Edna, I know you were catching a flight. Thank you, dear, for being a part of the pregame show, Jump Ball, and we'll see you guys in a couple of hours, I guess.
Great job, Fran.
Thanks, girl. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.